Yesterday I found the time, and today I think it's time to make it mine and let it fly. Yesterday I found the time to let it fly, let it fly, let it fly.
Okay, welcome to Star Trek 1.0. This is the first episode on a series that we're going to do about Star Trek, all the different episodes, characters, different shows, comic books, paperbacks. We're going to talk about all of the Star Trek. And the three of us here, my brother Joe, my daughter Audra, and myself, are all kind of Star Trek freaks. So we don't claim to be experts, we claim to be fans. And we're going to talk about tonight. Let's tell you what, tonight let's just talk about how we all got into Star Trek and kind of what it means to us, I guess. Let me start. Why am I always talking?
You started it all.
You started everything.
Well, that's kind of true.
It is the truth. It's the truth.
And because I'm old man and y'all are young people. But for me, I remember when it came on originally in the late 60s. But we didn't watch it at our house, because we didn't have that channel.
You have one channel.
We had one channel, and it was ABC, and I don't think Star Trek came on that channel. But regardless, I knew about it. I think I might have had a Star Trek lunchbox sometime in the early 70s. But for me, what really got me into it is when I went to Memphis State, and my best friend at that time, Brooks, was into Star Trek. So we moved into an apartment when we were freshmen, and every night at 6 o'clock on Channel 24, WPTY, Star Trek, the original series, came on. We watched every episode probably 20 times, it seemed like, because we would eat dinner in our living room and we'd watch Star Trek. And that's kind of how it started for me.
I tell you what, I remember talking to you about this album we had as kids out in Area Q. We had a 30, it was 30,
It was an LP.
LP, it was Star Trek LP. And I remember Kurt always talking about Stardate, blah, blah, blah. That's all I really remember about the album. And I'm 7 or 6 or 7, whatever. But I remember that Yall album. And later on, in my 20s, we could barely pick up, with CW, the Next Generation would come on. And I'd be having my little TV, fuzzy, and I'm watching the Next Generation the best I could, trying to figure out what was going on. And I kind of got addicted to it then when I really couldn't see anything. It was fun. I knew it was going to be a good show, but I couldn't tune it in very well.
Very cool.
Well, you guys started with Next Generation or Next Gen and the original series. Yeah. But you got us watching Star Trek Voyager as children because you're the father of daughters. And it's a very female, centric show. Women in power. Captain Janeway, B'Elanna Torres, Chief of Engineering. We want to talk about Kes. I won't say she was a powerful woman. But, 7 of 9 came on later. Pretty awesome cast. Yeah. Even Naomi Wildman, who I'm sure as a young child, I was like, oh, cool, a young girl on the show.
Well, it is interesting because I wanted my daughters to have role models that showed them that the sky was the limit, that gender was not a barrier to them in any way. And Star Trek, in my life, always provided a future that you could believe in, where good was good and we were all good, and everybody got along and you had all the different, there was everything about it was pure to me.
And that started and kept the same from day one, Star Trek. It was breaking boundaries. Women on the deck, minorities, different genders, different races were on the deck.
Different species.
Different species. So he really brought it all in. Gene Roddenberry, I think, really had a vision. And I think it's really kept going all the way through Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to say, as early as Next Generation that I know of, they were even talking about LGBTQ, plus issues. So early on, they were ahead of the game, I think.
Yeah, it's amazing when you think about, a lot of people are amazed by the science that they were talking about in the 60s, like transporters and tricorders and phaser rifles and different things,
Flip phones.
Yeah, that's right. Communicators, they call them. Right? And it is true, but it was far more barrier breaking than that you could ever think of. And I know that, I was raising you guys and as role models, but for me, it still provided inspiration. In my daily life, people used to say to me, because there was a Star Wars fad that kind of went in. I call it a fad compared to Star Trek. Because to me, I was just saying, what's the difference? Well, Star Wars was all about explosions and car chases, kind of thing. It was all about that. Star Trek's always been about characters. It's always been about the personality and the people behind them, and they would delve into these things. And it was, gosh dang it was just cool.
I mean, I think most episodes have a moral to them,
They
right?
do
There's
have a
almost
moral.
always a moral to the story.
They're discovering new races and new genders and new people, and they all get along. They all get along. It's a peaceful atmosphere starting from day one.
Right.
We're discovering people.
With the prime directive.
Prime directive.
Right. Audra, why don't you tell the story about when you went to the Star Trek experience?
I went to the Star Trek experience and I was 12. You had to be 13 to roam the grounds unattended, but they said that was fine, that they would let me go. And I think I was giving the tour at the end that did the ride and everything. The man was letting me help, in our Star Trek uniforms, guiding the way on this tour. It was great. We went to Quark's.
Where was your father?
My dad likes to gamble.
Play poker. Poker's not gambling.
He says it's not gambling. But
But
my dad plays poker.
I literally dropped you off at the Star Trek experience. I went through it one time with you, but I dropped you off, and you stayed there till they closed, and I came back and picked you up.
I think maybe you came back and we had dinner at Quark's together before we left.
We did have dinner
You
at
know?
Quark's, and we were served by Klingons.
And Borg. There was a
Oh,
Borg.
my God, yeah.
We got a cardboard stand-up cutout of like Julian Bashir or something
That's
from the experience.
Exactly right. You still have that?
No.
Oh, well, it'd be cool if you did.
I think he has it.
You brought it on the airplane.
Somewhere.
I don't.
I don't know how we got it on the
You
airplane.
lost it somewhere.
You could not do that now.
And Joe, y'all went to a convention.
In Nashville. Took Audra and her sister Allie, and they had a big time. They were dressed for the part. They had great homemade uniforms, and met Deanna Troy.
Yeah, and Jonathan Frakes.
Jonathan Frakes, and they just loved it. I
Up
mean,
close and personal.
They loved them, and they loved them. It just worked out so well, and even asked questions at the Q&A, I remember you asked about tribbles. I think tribbles it's kind of your thing, right? Anybody know what tribbles is? I'm still learning myself,
They're the best.
but it was a blast.
They're a nuisance.
It was a blast. We had a really good time.
That's fine. That's great. And the Jonathan and Marina
Searches
were nice.
Oh, they were awesome.
Well, and they were off duty somewhere where they weren't supposed to really talk to us or give autographs or take pictures, but we stumbled upon them
They
having a
hugged.
nice conversation, and it was just us and them. And
They hugged up and they were
Yeah.
happy, and it was delightful. I guess it's just the word I could use. It was delightful. They were great.
And then at the Q&A, he was like, I remember you. It was really nice. Jonathan Frakes, I remember you.
Is that not cool?
And they made it nice. It was very nice.
I mean, but doesn't that really represent the whole Star Trek franchise? I mean, it's good people out there looking for other good people and just trying to find things in common, and along the way solving some problems and having a little drama. There are some explosions, I guess, but yeah, a couple. But so to end this thing, Joe, what's your favorite franchise?
Well,
Do not steal my answer.
It's such a tough choice.
I'm 7 and 9. You know I love 7 and 9.
So he's going to steal my answer.
And that is my franchise. What's the name of it?
Voyager.
Voyager. I watch it every night, at least once or twice a night. I'm watching Voyager. And that is my favorite.
You're going back to it again?
All the time. I never stop.
And Audra?
I love Voyager. I just want to be different and say that I want to hype Star Trek Discovery right now. It's so good. We're about to come on our last season.
Well, you're going to hype that. I'm going to tell you Strange New Worlds I like even better than Discovery. It's not my favorite. My favorite is the series, the franchise that's the most character driven. And it's the most character driven mainly because they're not stranded, but they're stationary in space. And that's Deep Space Nine.
On a station.
I have a hard time figuring out who my favorite character is from that show because, it's hard not to love Dax. Really hard not to love Dax. But Quark? I mean, who can't love Quark? I mean, the episode where they go to Roswell, New Mexico is one of my favorite we're getting ahead of ourselves. Never mind.
Slow
Okay.
down. Slow down.
So, starting now, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about episodes and different franchises, our favorites, characters, things that happen, and our memories. So, I hope that y'all subscribe to our channel and that you watch and comment. Join the comments, talk about your favorites. We have the idea that maybe we'll have some fans join us for future talks. But anyway, until next time, we'll see you from Star Trek 1.0.